Hello and welcome to Student Loans 101 presented by the University of Alberta. My name is Haley and I work in the Office of Student Financial Support, a part of the Office of the Registrar. We are not a part of Alberta Student Aid, but our office has helped many students apply for their government student loans, just like we hope to do in this video. A few notes before we begin. This presentation offers general information about the loan application. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to contact the University of Alberta through Student Connect or contact Alberta Student Aid directly. As you may have gathered, this presentation only focuses on full-time Alberta residents attending the University of Alberta. If you're applying for a loan from another province, or if you are a part-time student, please see Student Connect or your home province for more information. The following video is split into two main parts. First, I will briefly review general information about the student loan process in Alberta. The second half of the video will go over each section of the online application. Well, I hope you stay with me. Feel free to skip ahead to the application section if you need to. As I mentioned, you can contact Student Connect on the main floor of the administration building if you have any questions at all about anything mentioned in this presentation. You can visit them in person or visit uab.ca/asksc. Okay, getting started. This is an overview of the student loan process in Alberta. First, you will need to register in classes. While it is not required that you be registered in your classes, it is easiest to apply if you are in all of your classes. This means that if you are applying for a full-time student loan for fall and winter, you will need to be registered at least full-time for fall and winter for your loans to be confirmed. If you apply and you are not registered full-time for fall and winter, your loan application will be assessed, but it will not be confirmed and your funding will not be dispersed. For most students, full-time equals 9 credits a semester, or generally 3 courses a semester. Just a note, for students registered with our Accessibility Resources Office, this may be different. It does not matter if you swap a course, as long as you remain full-time after applying for the student loan. Now that you're registered, you can go ahead and apply for your full-time Alberta student loan. The full-time application through Alberta Student Aid is actually 3 applications in one. On this application, you will apply for an Alberta student loan, a Canada student loan, and grant funding. You can log into the application using the Alberta Student Aid website. The login system is called My Alberta Digital ID, or as I'll be calling it, MADI, and is the same system that you can use to apply for Apply Alberta or the Rutherford Scholarship. The link is listed on this slide. If you're having trouble logging into MADI, you will need to call the Alberta Student Aid Help Desk, and the contact information is on their website. It can take up to 4 weeks for an application to be processed, but most students will receive an assessment much faster than that. If you have forgotten to include something on your application, or if you have made an error, you can always send in an appeal. Appeals can take up to 6 weeks to be processed and need to be submitted 6 weeks before the deadline. After you apply for your loan and it is submitted, it is sent off to Alberta Student Aid in downtown Edmonton to be assessed. Some general information about assessment. Parental income will not impact the ability to receive student loan funding for dependent students. This is a big change from what it was a few years ago. Parental income is still considered for grant funding for dependent students, but it will not affect the student loan. Dependent students, generally those who are under 23, can choose not to put their parental income on the application, but you will not be considered for grant funding if you choose to do so. Adding the parental income will not hurt your chances at the loan, and I will talk a little bit more about the difference between a dependent and independent student in just a little bit. So, what are grants? Grant funding is funding that can be added on top of your student loan. It is available based on some special eligibility criteria. The main types of grants are those based on family income. Grants are non-repayable, which is great, but they are usually not enough to cover all of your expenses. For more information, you can check out the following website on this slide. How does grant funding work? Your eligibility for grant funding is based on your gross income from your last year's tax return, or the Line 150. If you're a dependent student, then the grant funding is based on your family income. A note, for Alberta Student Aid definitions, a dependent student has nothing to do if your parents are supporting you or not. Generally, a dependent student is someone who is single with no dependents under the age of 23. An independent student is someone who is either over the age of 23, has been out of high school for more than 4 years, took a 2-year break from full-time studies after high school, has dependents, is married, or common law. You can find out more about dependent versus independent status on the Alberta Student Aid website, which is on this slide. So again, if you're a dependent student, then the grant funding is based on your parents' income. Grant funding for independent students is based on your income alone. If you are common law or married, grant funding is based on you and your partner's income. After you submit your application, it is very important to keep an eye on your email and your Alberta Student Aid account. When you complete the student loan form, you will need to set up a notification preference so that you receive an email or a text message when you have a message waiting for you in your Alberta Student Aid inbox. Information and documents that appear in the Alberta Student inbox are very important, so do not ignore them. You will receive some important documents that need to be dealt with before your funding is dispersed. After your loan is assessed by Alberta Student Aid, you will need to be on the lookout for some important documents in that Alberta Student Aid inbox. The main document that every student will need to complete once is called the Master Student Financial Assistance Agreements, or MSFAAs. The MSFAAs are important documents that will need to be completed the first time you apply for funding. These documents essentially lay out the terms of your loan and that you agree to pay them back. They will need to be completed before your funding is released. You will receive an Alberta MSFAA if you're receiving Alberta funding, and a Canada MSFAA if you're receiving Canada funding. The MSFAAs will be generated into your Alberta Student Aid inbox 2 to 5 days after the loan is assessed, so they won't be ready right away. You will receive information about how to complete the MSFAAs once they have been generated into your Alberta Student Aid inbox. The Alberta MSFAA is a paper document that you will need to download and print from your Alberta Student Aid inbox and take to a Canada post office. You will need to bring a piece of photo ID, your SIN card, and banking information so that they know where to deposit the money. The Canada MSFAAs are a little bit more high-tech and will need to be completed online through the National Student Loan Service Centre portal, or NSLSC. If you're having any trouble logging into the NSLSC portal, you will need to call NSLSC directly. Aside from the Alberta MSFAAs, you may receive other important documents in your Alberta Student Aid inbox. For example, students who are married or common law, you will need to complete a consent and declaration form before your loan is dispersed. Now that you have completed your MSFAAs, it is the University of Alberta's turn to do some work. We will be asked to confirm your registration. At this point, we will be asked to confirm that you are registered as you indicated on your student loan. If you're applying for a full-time student loan for fall and winter, you will need to be registered again full-time for both fall and winter. It is important that your health and academics always come first when you're deciding if you want to drop courses during the year, especially if you'll be dropping to part-time. But if you do decide to drop to part-time, it may impact your funding, so please come see Student Connect if you have any questions about this at all. After we confirm your registration, your loan will be dispersed. Funding is generally dispersed 1 to 3 weeks after your loan is confirmed by the University of Alberta. Just a note, you will receive a notice of award letter that informs you of your disbursement dates. The letter will tell you that your loan will be dispersed on an exact date, for example, September 1st. These dates are approximate, and you can expect to receive that funding the week of September 1st. If you're applying for 2 semesters, your loan will be dispersed in 2 disbursements. 50% will be dispersed at the start of your program, which is usually September, and 50% will be dispersed halfway through your program, which is usually January. A portion of your loan or grant may go directly towards your tuition, but it will not be put against your residence or book fees. While this can work very well, you do not receive a notification when it has happened, so keep an eye on your Beartrax account and your bank account for the funds to arrive. If there is any tuition that did not get paid by your student loan, for example, if you've picked up a class, it will be up to you to pay the remainder of your tuition. So it's always a good idea to keep an eye on your Beartrax account and your bank account. After that, you're all done. Now, just to review some quick, frequently asked questions before we start on the application section. Number 1, do I need to apply for a loan every year that I need one? Yes, you will need to apply for a loan every year that you need one. Alberta Student Aid doesn't know that you need a loan every year of your program. Number 2, what if I had a loan last year and I don't need a loan this year? If you choose not to apply for a student loan, but will be continuing as a full-time student, you can apply for interest-free, payment-free status. This will place your previous Alberta and national student loans into interest-free, payment-free status. For more information, visit Student Connect or check out the interest-free status section of our website. Number 3, what is the interest rate on your student loan? The current floating interest rate on your Alberta and Canada student loans is prime. Note that these can change before the time you graduate. The long answer is that your loans are interest-free and payment-free while you are a full-time student, and as long as you're applying for the interest-free status mentioned on the last slide. For example, if you have a student loan from your first year, and if you never need a student loan again for 4 years of your undergrad, 3 years in a graduate program, another 6 years in a PhD, your student loan from year 1 will be interest-free, payment-free that whole time. This is often a much better deal than you'll receive from any student line of credit from a bank. There is also a great program called the Repayment Assistance Plan once you graduate or stop being a full-time student. You can check out more information about that on the NSLSC website. Number 4, lastly, how do I manage my student loan or find any information about how much I have borrowed, etc.? On the next slide, I will go over a few of the places that you will have access to check on your student loan. The Alberta Student Aid portal is where you'll go for information about your current student loan. Again, don't ignore this inbox. The next 2 portals will give you overall information about any student loans that you have already borrowed. The My Loan portal is where you'll go for information about your Alberta student loan, and the NSLSC portal is where you will go to find information about your Canada student loan. It's also that same place where you'll do your MSFAA. Portal 2 and 3 are incredibly useful once you're in repayment, but we really strongly suggest that you check in on these portals once or twice a year. There is no other place that you can see the status of your loan and the total amount borrowed. In short, don't ignore any of these portals. All right, thanks for staying with me. Now it's time to look at the application. As I mentioned earlier, you will access the application from the Alberta Student Aid website or studentaid.alberta.ca. Once you log on to your Alberta Student Aid portal, you will see the welcome screen. At the top is the inbox, and that's where you're going to receive all of your important documents, including the MSFAAs. Remember to check this inbox. Scrolling to the bottom of the welcome screen, you can see lots of other things that you can do in this portal. Keeping your notification preferences up to date is a good way to make sure that you don't ignore your inbox. Once you're ready to apply for your student loan, you can click on 2019-2020 Loans and Grants for Full-Time Students. Just a quick note, there is no save button on this application. If you need to log off the application at any point, it will save automatically for 7 days. You can see this note just on the bottom of the application. Once you have opened the 2019-2020 application, you will see the application summary screen. Go ahead and click on Start under the Personal Information section. The first page of this section is fairly straightforward. Answer your personal information as best you can. Just a note, for the marital status question, common law for the purpose of Alberta Student Aid is living together in a relationship for 1 year, and this might be different from other definitions of common law. The next page is also pretty straightforward. You will need to indicate your notification preferences here. This will let you know when you have mail in your inbox. After you put in your notification preferences, you may be asked to verify your email or phone number. So you may need to log into your email before you can continue moving on the application. Next, we have the additional information section, which has some important questions on it. First, if you are confused at all about the first 2 questions and you have not lived in Alberta your whole life, you may want to contact Student Connect for more information. Just a note, high school does not count as being full-time for this question. The next few questions ask some specifics about your situation. If you do not know the terms permanent disability, ward of the Crown, or Indigenous status, these do not apply to you. Try to answer as truthfully as possible. The last 2 questions of this section are very important. I'll start by stating that completing your taxes is a requirement of receiving your student loan. It does not matter if you did not work or if you're under 18. You will need to provide your Line 150 to be assessed for student loan funding. If you do not have your Line 150, then you can guess, but you will need to complete your taxes and update Alberta Student Aid if there is a discrepancy between your guess and the actual Line 150. It is important to always update these things in the event that you are audited. If you have any questions about this, please contact Alberta Student Aid directly. The last question on this page is asking if you expect that your income will be lower in 2019 than it was on your 2018 taxes. For example, if you were working full-time last year, but you will not be working at all during this school year, your Line 150 from 2018 will likely be higher than it will be for the 2019-2020 school year. This question is a way to recognize that you may not have the same income while you're in school as you did last year. If you expect your income to be the same or higher, just leave this question blank. The emergency contact information is pretty straightforward. This person is not co-signing the loan, and it is only meant for an emergency contact. And that is it for section number 1. On to section number 2, studies information. The first few questions will ask about your educational institution and program. For educational institution, you will choose University of Alberta, even if you're at Campus Saint Jean. For the next question, you will choose your program name. For example, if you are in engineering, you will choose Bachelor of Science in Engineering. If you're in nursing, you will choose Bachelor of Science in Nursing. If you are in an after degree, you will choose that program name, for example, Bachelor of Education. There is no way for you to distinguish that you're in an after degree in the program name. If you're studying at Augustana, you will choose your program with parentheses, Augustana. And if you're studying at Campus Saint Jean, you will choose your program name, which will be listed in French. For your specialization, you will choose whichever specialization or major you are taking. If you're undeclared, you will choose General under your program name. For example, if you're in Science, it'll be under Science, General, which is under the S in the drop-down menu. You will then choose your year of study. If you're in an after degree, you will choose year 3 or year 4. For example, if you're in first year of your after degree, you will choose year 3. If you're in year 2, you will choose year 4. Graduate students will choose either year 1 or year 2, whichever you are closer to. After you choose your program name and your year, you will see program dates auto-populate. If you do not see dates, it means that something may have gone wrong with your program name. We strongly suggest that you contact us if you do not see your program dates auto-populate. We don't recommend entering your own dates without contacting us at Student Connect. If you would like to apply for a student loan for fall and winter, you can choose the September to April dates. If you'd like to apply for a loan just for the fall, you can choose the September to December dates. If you are an undergraduate and you would like to apply for spring or summer courses, you will not be able to do so until February 2020. In February, you will see dates in this application for spring and summer classes. If you are planning to apply for spring and summer, please come see us in early February because spring-summer classes can get complicated. The education costs for school term section is where you will indicate how much your tuition, fees, and books will be. Each white box will need to be filled in on this page, and do not put 0 in these white boxes. The numbers in gray above the white boxes are the standard amount for a full course load. No need to look in bear tracks. Similar to the auto-populated dates on the previous page, if you do not see these costs, please let us know. If you're taking a full course load, and for most undergraduate students this is 5 courses a semester, you will just go ahead and write down the full course load amount in the requested amount white box. If you're in the program that does not allow you to choose a number of courses you want to take, simply write down the full course load amount, for example, engineering or medicine, nursing or pharmacy. You will only need to do the math if you're taking fewer than the full course load amount. For example, if you're an undergraduate student and you are taking 4 courses a semester and a total of 8 for fall and winter, you will need to multiply the number of courses by the cost of each course, which is $532. In this example, it would be 8 times 532. If you're taking 3 courses a semester, it would be 6 times 532. For mandatory fees, you can write down the number in the gray in the white box. The mandatory fees are the same for everyone, no matter how many courses you take. Make sure not to leave any of the white boxes blank. For textbook costs, you can write down what is in the gray box and put it in the white box. Lastly, for computer costs, they will assess $500 for computer-related costs like ink and paper, so you can just write in $500. On the next page, it asks about correspondence or distance learning, and if you're studying at the University of Alberta, you are not enrolled in correspondence, so you can just go ahead and answer no. The last question on this page, you can write in your 7-digit University of Alberta ID number. You can find this number on your bear tracks or your one card. Moving along to the financial information section. Just a note about this section, you are going to try and answer each question as accurately as possible and making sure that you're reporting it monthly. So the first question asks if you will be paying child support, not if you're receiving it. The next question asks if you'll be paying rent or mortgage while you're in school. For example, if you're living with your parents and not paying rent, you would indicate no. If you are living with your parents, but they are requiring that you pay rent, you would indicate yes. Answer as best as you can for now, and if anything changes throughout the year, you can always update Alberta Student Aid. The next section asks you to indicate if you're receiving any of these specific resources while you're in school. Again, make sure to indicate these resources as monthly. If you do not have any of the resources in this section, you simply type in 0. The first question asks you about your parents. If you are receiving any funding from your parents voluntarily, you will need to report this. If your parents are paying for tuition, for example, you need to take the amount that they are giving you for tuition and divide it by 8. If your parents have an RESP, you will need to indicate the amount that you're receiving this year and divide it by 8. If you're not sure if your parents are supporting you this year, or if you have an RESP, it would be best to chat with them before filling out this section. For the other questions on this page, generally I say if you do not know what they are, then you do not have these resources. If you are receiving AISH, EI, or band funding, just remember to report it monthly. Income from other sources includes rental income or retirement pensions. You can click right on the question to see more details about that. Do not write in your salary, income you made during the summer, or income you will be expecting to making throughout the year. You do not need to report this on the application. In the additional resources information section, you will need to indicate if you have any non-registered investments, not including TFSAs or RRSPs. There will be more information on what those are if you click on that white box. For scholarships, only indicate if you know for sure if you're receiving a scholarship. If you've applied for a scholarship but you're not sure yet if you're going to be receiving it, do not include it here. If you get a scholarship later on, you can always let Alberta Student Aid know once you know what you are receiving. Annual resources would be gifts or contributions from family who are not your parents. Also, if you're receiving funding from an employer to go back to school, again, you can click right on that white box for more information. For any resources that you are not receiving in this section, you will just write in 0. Now I will go over the parental schedule. If you're a single independent student, you can feel free to skip ahead to go over the final parts of the application. Those students who are dependent or who have a spouse will need to complete one final section. If you are a dependent, so again, if you're under the age of 23, do not have kids, did not take a 2-year break after high school, you're not married or common law, and you do not see the section called the parental schedule, it means that you may have missed something in the personal information section. Take a look through that section, and if you can't find what went wrong, please contact Student Connect. For the next little bit, I'll be going over the parental schedule, but the spousal schedule is fairly similar. If you have any questions that I don't cover, just let us know. So, looking at the parental schedule, the first section asks about your parents' residency information. Fill out this information to the best of your ability. On the next page, if you would like to be considered for grant funding, you will answer yes to the first question. If you do not want to put in your parents' income information, or if you do not have it, then you will answer no. You will not be considered for grant funding, and you will not need to finish the rest of the parental schedule. Just a reminder, there is no harm in putting your parental information in. It can never affect your ability to receive the student loan. It can only potentially allow you to be assessed for grant funding. On the next 2 pages of the application, you will put the information for your parents. If you are only living with one parent and parent number 2 is not living in your household and is not supporting you, you do not need to put information in for parent number 2. If you live with one of your parents and a step-parent, the step-parent would be parent number 2. All family situations are unique, and if you have any questions about this section, just let us know. Similar to earlier in the application, you will need to indicate the exact line 150 for your parents. If your parents do not have their line 150, then they can guess, but they will need to complete their taxes, and you will need to update Alberta Student Aid if there is a discrepancy between their guess and the actual line 150. It is important to always update these things in the event that you are audited. The next box will allow for your parents to indicate if they will be making less for the upcoming year than they did on their 2018 taxes. If you have any questions about this, please contact Alberta Student Aid directly. The last page asks miscellaneous information about your family. Just a note that the number of people in your family includes you. At this point, if you have dependent children, you will have to complete a section for them. If you have a spouse or common law partner, you will need to complete a spousal schedule. If you have any questions about these sections, just let us know. For now, we will move on. So if you're ready to move on, you can go ahead and click on Proceed to Submit. If you have missed any questions, you will see this error message. You will have to go through the sections and see what information is missing and complete any of those missing questions. Once you have completed all of the questions, you will see this green message, and you can go ahead and click Submit Application. Now, you may have thought that you had completed your application, but you do actually have one final question. So on this page, you will see an automatic assessment. This is not a guarantee, but it is a good estimate of what you can expect to receive from student loans. If you do not see that preliminary assessment, do not worry. It doesn't mean that you're not receiving any loans. It just means that your loan is still being assessed. On this page, you can choose to cap the amount of loan funding that you receive. This means that if you choose to only receive, for example, $5,000, you can choose to borrow $5,000, even if you might be eligible to receive more. It is up to you. If you cap your funding, you can choose to appeal to receive that additional funding again later, but it will take up to 6 weeks to be assessed. You can only appeal 6 weeks before your end of study date. If you'd like to receive the maximum amount of funding that is available to you, just leave this space blank. Do not answer $0 on this question, or you will receive $0. The next page is the application declaration information section. Please take the time to look over and read this information. We are all guilty of ignoring these sorts of agreements online, but this is a student loan in your name from the government, and it is important to read this section over. Once you have read it over and you have clicked that you understand, you can go ahead and submit the application for real this time. After you've submitted the application, remember to keep an eye on your Alberta Student Aid portal. Right after you submit the application, you will be able to click Home on the top right-hand corner, which will take you back to that welcome screen. The inbox will be at the top of the welcome screen. The inbox on the portal is where you will find your Notice of Award letter, but also those Master Student Financial Assistance Agreement documents that you will need to complete. Keep your notification preferences up to date and don't ignore mail that comes into this inbox. Sign up for a MyLoan account if you have Alberta funding, and an NSLSC account if you have federal funding, and check them regularly. And that is it for this video. Congratulations on completing your student loan application. Please contact us at Student Connect if you have any other questions at all. Thank you so much for listening, and good luck on your application.